Every track world record is about to be broken, and it's going to be broken by someone running right now, whether they're still in public school or already a professional runner. Dozens of world records have been broken over the past 5 years in many different age groups, all the way from the under 13 800-meter world record, which was recently set by Gunnar Hammett, to Sam Ruth's under 18 mile record at Boston University this past couple weeks. The future generation is coming, and they're coming for blood. The times these kids are running would have been considered unbelievable at the end of the last decade, yet every year more of these records are being broken. And we can see this happening systemically across the world. And we don't have to look further over the last couple decades in the American high school track system. Over the last 16 years of high school performances, there is a stark difference between the performances now and the performances then. Let's go back to 2010, when the fastest time in the 1600 meters in American high schools was 407.47, compared to 357.28 in 2025. And in fact, the 25th fastest time last season in 2025 would have been the fastest time in the 1600 meter in 2010. I know a lot of Americans prioritize the mile over the 1600 meter, but it's the exact same story there. The 25th fastest mile time in 2025 would have been the fastest mile time in 2010. And there's a similar theme throughout all the distance events. The 25th fastest time in the 3200 meters in 2025 would have been the fourth fastest time in 2010. The 25th fastest 800 meter time in 2025 would have been the third fastest in 2010. And even in the lesser run events, the 5,000 meters, the 25th fastest time in 2025 would have been the fastest time in 2010. And you might think, maybe there's this bunch of generational talents coming through the high school system all at once, and that I'm nitpicking these years just for comparison, but that's not the case. These mega performances have been a common theme over the last 5 years compared to the generations before. To highlight my point, let's look at the average times of the boys 1600 meters and their top 25 placings over the last 16 years and compare them to each other. And let's do it in 5-year increments from the years 2010 to 2014, 2015 to 2019, and 2021 to 2025. I'm skipping the 2020 year because of the virus shutdowns, and not a proper track season was taking place that year. These are the average times you'd have to run in the 1600 meters in each placing to be ranked in the top 25 from 2010 to 2014, ranging from 403.71 for first to 410 for 25th. Now, if we compare that from 2015 to 2019, you'd actually have to run a tad faster to be in these rankings, ranging from 402.59 to 409.53, which means you'd have to run on average 1.49 seconds faster to keep your same rank in 2015 to 2019 than you did from 2010 to 2014, which is common for generations to get a little bit better from the previous one. But this is where things get crazy. From 2021 to 2025, you'd have to run 3.89 seconds on average faster than the previous generation to keep the same rank in the top 25 nationally, or 5.36 seconds faster from the 2010 to 2014 era when I was in high school. That is crazy. And those numbers are more skewed towards the top of the list as well, meaning the fastest runners are running even faster. The difference is even bigger than the generations before. But to highlight the point of the rising tide of all of these athletes getting better, the average 25th place finisher from 2021 to 2025 would have been the average third place finisher from 2010 to 2014. Even look at the American high school records today. Many of them have been set in the last 5 years alone. And this isn't just happening in America. In Canada, the top 14 under 20 age bracket in the 1500 meters have broken 350 in 2025. You'd have to combine the years 2010, 2011, and 2012 to get 14 runners running sub 350 to get the same amount that did it in 2025. And that's kind of cheating because some of these runners ran faster than 350 more than once in separate years. So if you really want to compare apples to apples, you'd also have to include the 2013 year to get as many runners running sub 350 in 2025. Hey guys, if you like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe to my channel. Back to the video. Even if we move across the ocean to Europe, it's the same thing happening. Some of these kids are running faster than the pros. So do we have a generation of global runners coming onto the running scene right now that are gonna set all of the world records and they won't be set again for decades to come? Before you answer that, and before I answer that, I'd like to give you a little bit more data. The same modern era dominance we're seeing these young kids do compared to the previous generations, we're seeing the exact same thing in the Masters events. There's about 393 world records across 28 events and multiple age brackets in the women's Masters events, and 216 of them have been set since 2020. That's 55%. On the men's side, 198 of 411 of these records have been set in the same time period. That's 48% of the records, almost half. And we don't even have to go to age groups. People on the pro scene are just running faster too. 3:30 in the 1500 meters on the men's side isn't what it used to be. Neither is 1:43 in the 800 meter. Neither is 13 minutes in the 5K or 27 minutes in the 10K. And it's the exact same thing in women's events. So what does this tell us? Across all ages and sexes, athletes are just running faster, breaking records left, right, and center. Is the average track coach exponentially better than 7 years ago? Are pro coaches even better than that compared to the same time years ago? Is everyone around the world locking in at the same time? Coaches are better nowadays, but they're not that much better. The chances are you know the answer, or at least you've heard it before and you just wrote it off. The answer is it's the shoes. The shoes are making everyone run that much faster. Since the super shoes have come to the market on scale, things are just different now. Everyone's running faster, especially the kids. And it's not just that they're running faster in the shoes. The biggest difference the super shoes are making is the amount of intensity and volume you're able to do compared to before isn't even comparable. Anyone who's been running competitively for the past 8 years will tell you exactly that. The impact of mileage and quality workouts used to be so much greater on your body, and overuse injuries were more rampant. Running 100 miles a week with 2 to 3 aerobic workouts sprinkled in nowadays is just much more doable than it was before. And your body will adapt to the training of running 100 miles a week with the 2 to 3 aerobic workouts while not being as hard on your body, which means you're adapting to training better and you're recovering better. Now imagine having access to these shoes as a child going through puberty, when the hormones are raging, their hormone receptors are fresh. The training adaptation these kids are getting from these super shoes are insane compared to the generations before. And as they mature, they get to build on that training into adulthood and become even better. And as a consequence, they're going to run faster than all of us who have not had super shoes since we were a child. We're starting to see the difference in the last 6 years from the generations before, and all of these records that are being set, they will continue to get broken and continue to be more unbelievable and absolutely insane compared to the end of the last decade in 2019. And these kids will have the best of both worlds. They will have the advantage of also extending their peak performance years well into their 30s because their body is more intact compared to the runners who are using the cloth running flats like I was back before 2020. They will have the advantage of also extending their peak performance years well into their 30s, as their bodies will be more intact because of the shoes. I can see it myself at 31. I'm not a professional athlete, but there are days I physically cannot run in non-super shoes just because my body is beat up from training. But I throw on a pair of Vaporflies or Elite V5s and I'm ready to go. I'm able to do my volume, do the required intensity, and I'm still getting better in my old age. But pro athletes my age have a real struggle ahead of them. Even though they'll be able to run competitively longer and get better than they otherwise would have without the super shoes, they're still going to be forced into retirement because the next generation of kids are going to replace them. All of the current world records will be broken, and it's being served to the young guns on a platter. What a time to be alive in track and field. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.